What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mike Dolce Show. This is the Ask the Dietitian edition, as we do every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Professor Lindsay Howard will be on in a moment, but I am very happy to welcome our first guest to this edition of the show, Miss Skylar Grote. Skylar, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Life is good over here. I'm down at the Jersey Shore right now. Where are you sitting at the moment?
I am in Blairstown, New Jersey, so I'm close to like the Delaware Water Gap.
Okay, not too far. I go up to Jenny Jump to go camping, now and again. So, up in the gap. So you are a wrestler. You are a female wrestler, obviously. You have competed at the very highest levels. You're currently vying for your spot on the Olympic team or a world team moving forward. Am I correct?
Yes.
You're New Jersey state champion in high school. You're also a two-time national champion in freestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone to all the national tournaments since high school. So I won Fargo in high school. I was like a four-time Fargo All-American. I'm Pan Am teams. I won Pan Am's twice as a junior. So, I've been on the international/national scene for a while, and now I'm on the senior level, and I'm looking to make a world team in September. So I have world team trials the first week of September, and that's the next thing for me.
Awesome. I definitely want to get there, but briefly, I want to go back with you. I want to jump right in. I know, you have an hour for us, which is great. And I really want to cover the main topic, which is going to be centered on weight cutting, what everyone at home can take from this. We have a pretty big following. Many of in the combat sports world follow this show. And I wanted to touch on some of your experiences. You made some statements recently on Twitter that got a lot of people talking, which was really cool. But before we get to that, I want to go back to you and your career. So and I know your father was a wrestler himself, a quite accomplished wrestler in his own right. He's now a medical doctor. So, very intelligent, man. He comes from a wrestling pedigree and background. What makes you, a young girl going back, 10, 15 years or so, what makes a young girl in New Jersey say, hey, I want to wrestle, which is not what most people think. And, I'm in the culture, right? So for me, it was completely normalized. And I am a two-time girl dad, by the way. I got two little girls at home who are already into the martial arts phase and such. But what got you started in wrestling? And hello, Professor Lindsay Howard. How are you? To acknowledge you jumping into the room. Lindsay and Skylar, Lindsay.
Nice to meet you.
Skylar. Nice to meet you.
I started because my dad and his friend were wrestling in our living room, and I was about 5 years old at the time. And, after his friend left, I said to my dad, I want to do that. I want to wrestle. And I don't really think I knew at the time, what I was saying. But of course, my dad being a wrestler for Cornell back in his days and an alternate for the Olympics, he was like, ooh, my daughter wants to wrestle. He had one son, and his one son didn't wrestle. He actually played football. So I think that my dad just jumped on that opportunity because I said that. But at 5, my parents were like, 5's too young for her to start. So they waited a couple years and then came back to me when I was about 8 and said, hey, do you still want to, try wrestling? And I was really unsure of it at first, but they were like, just go to a couple practices and, see if you like it. So I went and I fell in love with it. And ever since then, I've been wrestling. So since 2nd grade.
So you started in 2nd grade. And what organized sport was there for girls, or did you have to compete with the boys at that age?
Yeah, so I was one of 3 girls on the team. My sister wrestled as well. Or maybe there were 4 girls. It was me, my sister, and 2 other girls. So there was a handful of us that wrestled. And then, as the years went on, some girls quit. So I think my last year, it was really just 3. It was down to 2 or 3 of us. But, it was cool to have a couple other girls there with me. That I think that kept me from quitting because I had other people like me on the team at the time. But, as I went on to middle school and high school, I was the only girl on the team in high school at Blair. And that was super difficult, but I don't regret it. It was one of the best experiences of my life. So
Sure. Now, Blair Academy, of course, being from New Jersey, being in the wrestling world, we all know who Blair Academy is. And even people who don't know anything about wrestling, they know of Blair Academy because of their dominance here in the state, regionally, but also nationally. One of the greatest high school wrestling teams in the country for decades now. Now, you were the only female on the boys Blair Academy wrestling team. How was that for you? Just, I mean, real world wrestling or not, just as a girl, as a human being, how was that? It's kind of I mean, for a boy to walk onto that team, that's a pretty daunting situation. For a girl, I'm assuming it must have been a little more challenging.
Yeah, it was tough. The practices were super difficult. The kids were super tough. Every day I was going into practice, it was a challenge for sure, especially being the only girl and having to navigate myself and not having someone else, another female on the team. That was definitely difficult. But I loved the kids on my team. I had the whole team were my friends, and the coaches were great. My first year was the first year that Buxton wasn't there anymore, but I had Coach Stanhoff there, and he really took me under his wing, and he really pushed me to become the best that I could. So, and then I had Coach Antonelli my last 2 years, and Coach Clavel was my sophomore year. So all those coaches really did their best to make me feel welcomed, and they wanted to see me be the best that I could be, and they were great. So my experience at Blair was amazing.
So you were able to go on, you were able to actually finish your high school career as a state champion.
Well, there wasn't really states when I was at Blair. And if I did go to states, it wasn't really that big. Like now, women's wrestling is sanctioned in New Jersey, so states a little bit bigger of a deal. But for me, my highlights in high school were winning Fargo and going to Pan Am.
Gotcha.
I went to Pan Am's in Cuba, Toronto, Canada, and I won Pan Am's twice. So being a 2-time Pan Am champ was awesome. And then obviously winning Fargo. I think I had 40 girls in my bracket that year when I won Fargo. So that was pretty cool, especially because, 5-6 years ago I think it was 6 years ago when I won, women's wrestling wasn't as big as it is now. So those were the main difference for me.
And no, fair point. And as you're saying, winning Fargo is probably greater than winning any state tournament because most state champions end up at Fargo, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Fargo is much more of a national tournament than it is of a state tournament, not to diminish any state champions out there. But Fargo, that's where every state champion wants to go and test their mettle against the best in the nation.
Exactly. It's just a national tournament. The main tournaments for females right now are Fargo, World Team Trials, stuff like that.
Yep. All right. So now let's transition a little bit, and I wanted to jump into the weight cutting side of things. So when were you first exposed to weight cutting as an amateur athlete?
I remember my first weight cutting experience. I was in 6th grade, and there was a gap in the lineup. Or I don't really remember why I cut this weight, but for some reason I wanted to go 94 pounds, and I was 102. So, back then wrestling was super, or weight cutting in wrestling was just something everybody did. So I just thought that, to be the best, I had to cut weight as a 12-year-old. So, I decided that I wanted to go 94 pounds, and I was weighing about 102. And my parents were like, "Oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Why don't you just go 100 or whatever it is?" And I was like, "No, I'll go 94. I'll be big at I'll be big at 94. Let me just go 94." And they were like, "Okay, whatever. You do what you want to do." So I cut to 94, and I weighed in, whatever. And then I went to the parking lot. My dad and I were going to go out to breakfast, and I drank a water bottle. And probably 30 seconds later, I just threw up the water bottle. And I was like, what the heck? Why, or the water, why did I just throw up this water? And nothing came up with it. So clearly I had no food in my stomach. I was extremely dehydrated. Don't really know why I threw up the water 30 seconds after I drank it. Probably because my body was just didn't have anything in it. So that was my first experience. And then I wrestled 2 or 3 hours later, whatever it was, and I felt terrible, and I didn't wrestle well. And I just remember my parents being like, oh, well, it's probably because like you cut a lot of weight. And I was like, yeah, maybe. So after that, I didn't really cut weight again until high school. In high school, I was dropping from 144 to 132 every week. And not that that's a crazy cut. I mean, 12 pounds is a lot for a high schooler, but I just really I didn't know how to do it right, though. That was the problem. You know, I remember on Wednesday night, that would be like my last meal. Like I'd get a dinner in Wednesday night. And then Thursday and Friday, I would eat like clementines and like popcorn and chocolate, like anything that didn't weigh a lot, because that was kind of how people did things. And people still do those things now when they're cutting weight. They're like, oh, like have a chocolate bar. Like it's only like 0.1 ounce or whatever. Just have a chocolate bar. So that's what I did in high school. And that's just what I thought cutting weight was. And I had to cut to 132 because the boys were too big at 138. I couldn't go 138. They were cutting from like 153 to 138. So it is true. Like people can be too big. So I had to make 132, but I just didn't know how to do it right. And then I got to college, and when I got to college, my coach was like, all right, enough cutting weight, like just wrestle what you weigh and see how it goes. And that was like my first experience, literally not cutting any weight and just eating healthy and working out twice a day and wrestling what I weigh. And ever since then, I'm like pretty against cutting weight. I mean, I'm not against cutting a little bit of weight or losing I like to call it losing a little weight, not cutting weight. Losing a little weight, I'm not against if you can do it in a healthy manner, but cutting 10 pounds of water, I'm very against.
Yeah, I agree. And I know Lindsay and I, we're both advocates for healthy weight management. Of course, we work with some of the world's greatest athletes. We've worked with USA Wrestling to help with some of the behind the scenes implementation of proper weight management strategies. We use that term weight management, healthy weight management. We do not advocate weight cutting. And, to go back to what you had said on your Twitter post recently, and I'll pull that up here as we're talking about it, but that's really kind of what got me interested in really, bringing you on to the show, is really having that conversation with you. I don't know if it's going to show up here.
Yeah, I think I see it.
There. Yeah, it's getting a little bit of, poor feedback. I'm getting that the screen of death. You guys can see it here like this? Or is it showing the screen of doom right there?
You can see it. It's small. It just says children should not cut weight. I repeat, children should not cut weight. Yeah, and maybe even make it even, a little bit bigger right there. So let me jump out and, children should not cut weight. I repeat, children should not cut weight. You got 1,700 some odd likes, 140 retweets. It's a pretty well performing post. And everyone should be following at Sky Grote on Twitter, on Instagram. But what I noticed was there was a very polarizing conversation that happened inside your stream. I read a lot of the comments in there. I almost commented quite a few times myself, but I was like, hey, let me not, get into these conversations, kind of start fighting with the trolls. But you could see very much how people inside, I believe the wrestling community, most likely, they took offense in some ways to what you were saying, that, cutting weight was a part of the game. Athletes have been doing it forever. It creates an advantage. And those are, I believe, people who are the worst in the sport. They don't understand what competition is about. They don't know how to coach an athlete, how to scale an athlete forward. And honestly, I come into these, we get people sometimes that come to us, they want their child to be the fourth grade state champion, and they're willing to drop them 2 or 3 weight classes to get it done. So what kind of parents are you? Yeah.
What the hell kind of parents are you? What are you trying to do to this child? You're manifesting eating disorders at this very early age, both male and female side. We think about the long-term health impact of nutrient deprivation, what this is going to do long-term, high incidence of injury. And also you're going to likely burn the athlete out of the sport before they have time or they have the ability to become competitive, which is really in the high school years. We have more of a pre-puberty and a post-puberty, approach to weight cutting. As an athlete scales a little forward, their body matures, certain things change, but also scholarships come on the line. the opportunity to move on to a 4-year degree. So there's some things that can happen in time. So to go back, I want to talk about that tweet number 1. And what was your reaction? You put the tweet out there. Did you expect it to get that type of traction that it got?
You know, I just wasn't expecting so many people to come back at me and be like, no, like kids have to cut weight, be good. Like I thought that we've moved on from that, and I thought that things have changed, but I'm really glad that I brought it up because clearly we need to talk about it, and we have to fix that mindset in our sport, so that, you know, we don't have kids burnt out, and that kids can be kids and enjoy wrestling and not, you know, focusing on cutting weight. I think it's super important. Wrestling's like hard as it is, right? So add in starving your child to that. It's too tough at a young age. And those years from when a kid is, you know, that young, 5 to, I don't know, I'd say like 18, all those habits are going to follow them for the rest of their lives. So it's super important in those times to form healthy habits. And cutting weight is not a healthy habit. You know, I had a lot of people come at me and say, well, oh, cutting weight helps you form good habits. No, like, number one, you don't know what cutting weight is if you're saying that. You know, cutting weight is not switching wheat bread for white bread. That is not cutting weight. Cutting weight is, you know, working out way more than you should in a day. It's cutting water. It's, you know, not getting the nutrients that you need on a daily basis. That's cutting weight. And that has terrible effects on a young athlete. So I definitely want to encourage parents to let their kids enjoy the sport and to not focus on, you know, trying to achieve a lower weight class.
Now, what are some of the worst weight cuts that you've personally seen? Whether you know, share names or not doesn't really matter. But have you witnessed any weight cuts that were just shocking? And I will preface this that with wrestlers are more, we're used to seeing things that are absurd, right? If the average person walked into the room and saw a normal weight cut going on, they freak out and call the cops, right? So that's kind of even normalized. Is there anything that you've seen that was just like way over the top and mind blowing?
Yeah, I saw a kid in high school cut weight. He cut from like 140, maybe like 143 to like 126 in like a week, and all he ate was like celery and a little bit of chicken. And that was probably like one of the worst weight cuts I'd seen. And he was like, no, I have to go to 126 because that's where like a gap is, of course, like a gap in the lineup. That's always what people say. And he was like, I have to go this way. And of course he wrestled terribly because he had no energy. And that was definitely one of the worst weight cuts I've seen. But, you know, I see them always. I see them probably every tournament. You know, you always hear people talking, oh, they didn't do that well. Oh, yeah, it's probably their weight cut, right? So, it still happens. People still cut lots of weight. I think that, and again, I'm not against cutting weight. I'm for weight management. So that's what I like to call it. I don't like to call it cutting weight. Cutting weight to me is, you know, depriving yourself of nutrients and losing water weight. But weight management, you know, slowly getting to your weight over a course of several weeks, that's okay. I do that. You know, I start probably 10 pounds over 5 weeks out. And then I slowly get down to my weight. And then I'm not cutting any more than 3% of my body weight the week of competition, max 5%. I don't feel great on 5%. I like to keep it to 3%. So, you know, I'm starting the week before I weigh in. I get 2 hours after I weigh in, and then I have to weigh in again the next day, some tournaments. So I have to be really diligent on my diet and stuff. But I'm not against cutting weight. Or losing weight or whatever you want to call it. But I am against, you know, cutting 10 pounds of water the day before I compete.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. It's the extreme deprivation that causes the problem. Those massive water cuts, you know, like your buddy who cut from 143 to 126. And how old was this kid at that time? A teenager?
Probably 17, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty big weight cut at that age, at that stage, and doing it the entire wrong way. You even mentioned yourself back in high school where you would essentially starve yourself for 2 days. Last meal would be on Wednesday. You go Thursday, Friday without eating much, handful of clementines, which is really just sugar water, handful of popcorn, which is really just nothing. It's like chewing on air, a little bit of chocolate here and there just to get that little bit of sugar spike, which is extreme nutrient deprivation. You know, I'm sure your parents were probably just, you know, white knuckled in the back room, not happy about it, but, you know, you're in the culture, and it's what we try and speak out and speak to the wrestling communities is the normalization of these extreme weight cutting techniques, specifically with youth athletes. Where we look at the pros, the 25, 35-year-old pro athletes fighting in MMA. I know you have experience training with some of the MMA athletes out there too. But even athletes at that level, I make jokes and I say, even at the UFC level, which is the Olympics of combat sports, athletes miss weight every single card. 2 or 3 athletes on average miss weight every single card. That's 20 to 30% of the fight card is affected week in, week out by botched weight cuts. And I would say probably 60 to 70% of the athletes on the card are cutting weight unprofessionally, in a very unhealthy manner, kind of the old school wrestling, stop eating, stop drinking, get in the sauna, wear your plastics, work it off, like that work it off mentality. Well, that's probably one of the worst things to actually do. And what you're saying, what you've learned, and you're very enlightened, is that you take that slow drip, that slow reduction of your body weight, you get your body weight down close to your competitive weight. So then you're just squeezing out a few percentage, which we all, total body inflammation, we can drop a few percentage of water in a healthy manner so you can go out there and compete. We look at athletes like Jordan Burroughs. Jordan Burroughs moved up through his collegiate career. Cale Sanderson moved up through their collegiate career. We will look at some of the most dominant collegiate amateur athletes in wrestling. They actually move up weight classes as their career continues, and they're able to dominate because they're not so restricted with their body weight. But it's funny, when you talk to the wrestling community, they have this mindset that bigger is better. To suck yourself down 20 to 30 pounds, that's the way to win. But when you look at the most successful athletes, they're the athletes who don't cut very much weight, or some athletes no weight at all. So it's just a very interesting observation. It's nice to see that you're living that lifestyle. Now, I want to have your intake or insight into, well, what can be done? Because this is wrestling's dirty little secret, I think, is the weight cutting at the youth level and in high school. That's a youth athlete, right? You know, sub 18 years old, it's a youth athlete. We see it, we consult. You know, it's a horrible thing, in my opinion. But what can be done? What if you could snap your fingers, Skylar? What would you do to fix this?
You know, it's really just education. I actually started working with a nutritionist who works with a lot of MMA fighters. I learned how to eat right and how to cut weight the right way. And I didn't know how to cut weight the right way before I was 20 years old. And so, you know, it was really just educating me on the right way to do things. And I think that needs to get done now, especially, you know, educating parents and educating the wrestling community as a whole. You know, what's okay for your kid, diet wise. You know, you don't want to restrict your kid too much, but also your kid shouldn't be eating like white bread all the time and fruit snacks and stuff. So just educating parents on, you know, healthy snacks and how to keep a healthy relationship with food in your house. I think that that's super important, and I don't think we talk about it enough. So that's the best way I would go about it.
Yeah, and education is key. And it, you know, we always, you know, you hear the joke about the wrestling dads, right? The dads who are constantly trying to relive their wrestling career through their children, and the football dad, the soccer dad, like it's all the same thing. It's the parents who put so much pressure on their child to do better than they once did, you know, and it's not in the child's best interest to compete against the specter of the parents', I will say, failed career. No matter how good the career was, if the dad did great in high school and maybe didn't do as good in college, he wants the kid to do better in college. If he did good in college but didn't quite make it to the world team, he wants his kid to go to the world team. So it's this you know, unrealistic expectation that they put onto the child. But I think long term, it doesn't do good for the child. it's nice to have some support. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, I don't think we talk about it enough, but I would say, like, I tweeted again after that. I was like, I would say like 97% of wrestlers have had or have an eating disorder. 100%.
Yeah.
I went through a phase where I did not eat one thing that I didn't make for 6 months straight. Like, that's insane. Like, I did not put one thing into my mouth that I did not make myself. And, looking back on that, and of course I rebounded after that. Of course I put on weight after that, because that's not healthy. That's not a good relationship with food. And we see it all the time. People or wrestlers cutting weight, and then as soon as they're done cutting weight, that tournament, they go on like a 2-week binge, or, if they don't have to make weight for a while, they're binging and they're putting on, 20 pounds. So if we had a healthy relationship with food and we maintain our weight, and, we don't feel the need to go out on these binges, I just think that it's going to help wrestling so much more, and it's going to help everybody in the who wrestles have a better relationship with food. And it's definitely something that I've gone through and something that I've struggled with, and I'm really just so passionate about it, because I was fortunate enough not to have that happen to me when I was 5 years old, but it was hard for me to deal with at 20 years old, 21 years old. So I can only imagine what it would be like for someone that grew up doing that. So I just think it's really important to, get the word out there.
And you bring up another good point. Of the female wrestlers that you're involved with, do you see a higher incidence of eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, that's or just a disordered relationship with food that is systemic throughout their life?
Yeah, I think it's tough for female athletes, especially, society is still pretty tough on females and how females look. I think that there's definitely a move towards, women being stronger and more athletic looking, but it wasn't always like that. I remember when I was in high school, like, the ideal woman body type was being super skinny. And I remember weighing like 144 pounds. And, I remember just like boys in high school being like, wow, like 144 is a lot. And I just remember being so upset, because it's like, yeah, 144 is bigger for a girl, but it's not bigger for a girl when you have a lot of muscle. And now I weigh over 150, and I still think that people are like, oh, 150 is like kind of big for a female, but it's not when you have a lot of muscle, and it's not when you work out a lot. So it's definitely tough for girls. I have young girls say to me all the time, like, oh, I'm like 140, 150, 160, and they struggle with it because, kids in their grade or their peers, look down upon that number. But I just kind of have to reassure them, like, it's okay. And I love that I weigh a lot now, because I'm like, it's okay. I weigh 160. So, or like whatever, I'm like 155. So it's not a big deal. You can be athletic and have muscle, and just because that number on the scale is bigger, it doesn't matter. As long as you're healthy, that's all that really matters in the end. But yeah, you definitely see girls with, girls in sports like wrestling with eating disorders and body dysmorphia. I think it's more body dysmorphia for sure, just because, we go against the standard.
Yeah, it was, my own experience is I always thought I was fat. Like, if I couldn't grab the tendons of my intercostals, I would be like, man, I'm fat. Like, if I didn't, there's like this, kind of like ridge I could dig my finger into. If I could dig my finger in the ridge, and I was like, all right, I'm in shape. And it was stupid, like, to be that lean, probably like 6-7% body fat for years. And then when I got kind of, away from wrestling and more into the powerlifting side, that all started to blur away. And then I yo-yo to the opposite side of a body dysmorphia, where then I put all of my ego into being big. Then I had to be 280 pounds. So to go from like 185, then I had to be this massive 280 pounder in order to have some sort of value in my body. And it took me a while to go through that. Now, I was classically trained, in nutrition, even in this. So I knew it at the time. Logically, I was aware of it, but emotionally and psychologically, I was still dealing with it, because in high school, I was cutting from, 150, 160 down to like 125. You know, I was the kind of, you know, getting bounced up and down 4-year varsity wrestler, and they would always plug me into the holes where the seniors didn't want the tough match. So they'd put in the freshmen to take the tough varsity match. So I was always all over the place. But I was cutting 20, 30 pounds, probably why I'm so passionate about weight cutting now. But it does create this horrible relationship with food. You know, can of tuna fish with a little bit of mustard, that would be my entire meal for the entire day, right? You know, literally chewing on an apple and then spitting out the apple peel, you know, kind of like sucking on it and spitting out, like that whole thing, Jolly Rancher spitting in the bus, all that BS. That, you know, you're a kid, you know, so a kid going through doing that, and what that does, it manifests this terrible relationship with food and also your image of yourself. You see yourself as fat, and you know, this horrible image, and then the food, and I can't eat that. And you know, funny stories about, you know, Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks used to step on the scale holding McDonald's, like holding like a Big Mac or a quarter pounder, thinking like, hey, it only weighs a quarter pound. I can eat, like, I got 3/4 of a pound. I can eat 3 of these. Not understanding, you know, performance fuel, performance nutrition. John Smith told me some funny stories about, you know, pulling Johnny out of McDonald's like the night before weigh-ins because he's like, you know, 0.4 over and he's going to grab like a quarter pounder because he's got, you know, 0.25 he can make. So just a horrible relationship with food as you continue on. So it's awesome that you're here. Go ahead. I know you have something to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think another thing to talk about too is that healthy looks different on everyone. And I think that was something that I really struggled with because, you know, genetics does have a big role in how lean you can get and, you know, what you look like. So, you know, I see all these female athletes like me, you know, they're able to get super lean. And I think that, you know, I got to do whatever I can do to look like them. And for a while there, I was just killing myself to try to be that lean. And then I came to the realization that, you know, this isn't my body. This isn't where my body's healthy. And I think that's hard for some people. I think even, you know, the men in our sport are the same way. They see someone who's like super jacked and they're like, oh, I want to look like him, or I want to be as lean as him. But that's not where their body is the healthiest. So I think that it's super important to learn to accept your body and to figure out where you're the healthiest and what weight you're the healthiest at. And, you know, like I said, healthy looks different on everyone. And that's just like a super important thing to preach to, you know, the younger kids and, you know, even athletes as old as me. Some people just don't understand it and can't accept that.
You know, you bring up a good point that I want to touch on, where body weight doesn't matter. I think everyone here, the three of us, we are termed to be, you know, either overweight or obese if we're looking at BMI characteristics. I recently got my, you know, life insurance updated. I'm morbidly obese at my height and my weight, and I had to get on the phone, talk to the rep. I'm like, I'm actually in great shape. They're like, well, looking at the stats, you're morbidly obese, sir. I'm sorry to tell you. I said, you have the internet. She's like, yeah. I said, well, go to my website. Pull up the website. I was like, do I look morbidly obese? And she's like, oh no. I said, well, let's dig this a little further. Did you look at my LDL, my HDL, my triglycerides, my A1C level? Did you start looking at these other data points? No, I'm actually very lean. I, you know, lower body fat than blah, blah, blah. But we focus more on composition, or you and I and the three of us in this room and everyone listening and watching right now. Body composition matters much more than body weight. A healthy individual will likely be more muscled than a non-healthy individual. I know people who are the perfect body weight. They are skinny fat. They are very unhealthy individuals. They smoke cigarettes. They eat potato chips. They have, you know, Skittles and things like that for lunch. They drink, you know, light and sweet coffees from Dunkin' Donuts all day long, and they suck down all the synthetic toxic chemicals. Very unhealthy people, but their BMI is actually a normal, healthy range. You and I could just knock them over with the slap of our hand. And these are grown ass men, you know, that they'll just collapse, you know, with a little bit of force put forward. But then the pendulum swings the other way. And we see individuals like maybe an Ashley Graham or Lizzo, the faces of the body positivity movement. And I don't want to put those ladies' names so much associated with body positivity, but there is this PC culture push for body positivity, which is, I think, the intention. I'm going to give the snowflakes the benefit of the doubt and say the intention might be good to not shame people at an emotional level, because that doesn't do anything to facilitate change. but to normalize morbid obesity. And that's not, the three of us with higher BMIs, but our composition clearly indicates our level of health, as does our blood work. When we look at those who are classically morbidly obese, that they do not have healthy blood work, they do not lead a healthy lifestyle. Do you have any thoughts on what that body positivity movement is? Because you say, hey, I'm a heavier girl. Well, you're 150, it sucks to say like, hey, 150 or 160 is deemed, quote, heavy for a girl. That's ridiculous. You're one of the fittest athletes in the country, right? Right now, we could simply say that. But we'll look at individuals that are pushing, 253 with 30% or more body fat, 40%, 50% or more body fat. And I will unfortunately use Lizzo. I would have to assume Lizzo is above 50% body fat. Ashley Graham, I would say, is probably above 50% body fat. Now we know, statistically speaking, and Lindsay maybe can chime in on some of the medical data here, that statistically speaking, they are just targets for all-cause mortality, a much higher incidence of negative health outcomes as a result of that. But to you, Sky, to jump back in, what are your thoughts on that body positivity movement? Is it helpful, or is it actually hurtful to women's self-image and to the acceptance of their own bodies?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for body positivity, but I'm all for body positivity when you're healthy and, having healthy options or healthy habits, is super important to me. I think that, there has to be balance. Everybody has to have balance. So, if you're eating healthy and you're working out, that to me is healthy. Like you said, having good blood work and being, healthy from a doctor's standpoint, I think that is super important. And that's going to look different on everybody. Some people might have 25% body fat doing that, or maybe 28% body fat doing that. I know like the female athletes on my level, a lot of them have like 12% body fat or 14% body fat. And for me, that's just not realistic. I'm more at like 19% body fat. But, I'm definitely not for the extremes. I'm not for someone depriving themselves of nutrients to be, a runway model. That's not really body positive to me, and being super skinny. But it's also really not body positive to me the opposite way. So both to me are super unhealthy. Not eating enough and eating too much, those are both unhealthy. And I think body positivity is important if you are healthy, and that is the only time I'm going to be for body positivity.
Fair. Lindsay, you have anything to throw into that?
Yeah, I'm sorry this is the first thing that I've chimed in on, because it's like the negative portion, but I'm totally with you guys. Like, I completely agree that there's a pendulum that swings. So it's like, yeah, we don't want to promote being super, super skinny and depriving ourselves and being super restrictive, but you also don't want to promote 50% body fat. That's just ridiculous. I literally, it's funny that we're talking about this. I was literally shopping for tank tops on Old Navy's website. Love Old Navy. Can't go wrong. But so I'm clicking through, like looking at, different colors of whatever I'm looking at. And it's all, and again, I'm trying to like tread lightly here, but it's all like plus size models modeling the normal sized clothing. And like, I'm all for not hating yourself at whatever weight that you are. But these people clearly are very, very unhealthy. So I think it's kind of disturbing almost when you look, like if you type in, like health at every size or whatever the tag is on Instagram, extremely unhealthy individuals that are promoting that type of lifestyle. Like, it's funny that you bring up Lizzo, because she can't be healthy. Mm-hmm. That amount of, like, to get more sciencey here, that amount of visceral and subcutaneous body fat, that's not healthy. Mm-hmm. And I don't like follow her closely. I know that she's been pretty public about like trying to diet a little bit, but also very public at like, hey, this is my body and I'm going to own it and I'm going to rock it, which is awesome. But if you're unhealthy, how long is that? How far is that body going to take you? Mm-hmm. So it's again, it's like you have to find that happy medium. But no, I mean, it hits home also, like talking about being in school, like being bigger. I'm 6'2". So my entire life, like I was the tallest kid in my school, boys and girls, until I graduated. Like all of the years, like a foot taller than kids. So I'm walking around like hunched over, like kind of ashamed at how tall I am. And like, you know, you go through like gym class testing and things like that. And people say your weight, and I'm like 40 pounds heavier than all the boys, but I'm bigger than them. So I think it helped kind of my relationship with myself and my body, just knowing that I'm a bigger person and it is what it is, but I'm also healthy. So it's, I don't know. It's hard to look at stuff like that.
I think the main thing is that angers me is like, why aren't there people that, you know, look like me? Why aren't there models that are 5'5" and 160, like that are healthy and muscular? Like, why is that not represented? Because that's healthy, and I don't see that. I see the models that are 6'2" and 110 pounds, and then I see, you know, the body positivity, you know, models who are, like you said, 350 pounds, but there's like no one that's like athletic and 5'5" and 5'6" at like 150. And I think that, you know, we need to do a better job at representing that too, because that is healthy. And that is what, you know, young girls should see. They should see, you know, people who are healthy and who are strong and all of that kind of stuff. So I think we definitely need to move towards that a little bit as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's definitely a societal thing. You know, it's nice to see, like, you know, certain companies moving towards promoting fitter people, but it's usually, you know, your athletic clothing lines and things like that, which is what you would expect. But it would be nice to get, not that everybody has to be like muscular and athletic, but that is the healthiest way to live. So it would be nice to see it represented a little bit more, you know, mainstream all around, where you're not promoting restriction, but you're also not promoting, you know, being overweight and being okay with being unhealthy. So it's tough to see a lot of the stuff in the mainstream.
I think just kind of promote even till now just unrealistic body types. It's just such extremes. It's either, you know, you're so skinny, you're like anorexic, or, you know, you're super big and you're unhealthy. So we definitely need to find a middle ground. And I'm happy that, you know, I don't have the typical or what society wants my body to look like. I'm happy I'm a little different, because I feel like that has helped me help young girls who are, you know, 15, 16, and they're not 110 pounds like society wants them to be, or like it has in the past. So I'm happy that I can, you know, help them, and that I look like them, and that they're able to seek help through me. I think that's pretty cool. And I'm happy I'm able to be that role model for them, because I think when I was growing up through high school, you know, I always thought, oh, I have to lose 20 pounds because I'm 145 pounds, and that's not good. And I had no idea. Like I, you know, you go to the doctors, and even still to this day, they're like, oh, your BMI is 25. I think mine's like 25.5. They're like, you know, that puts you in the overweight category. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm overweight. Like that's terrible. And then I went and I got my body fat done, and they're like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. Like you have like 18% body fat. Like this is really good. And like still it's hard for me, because I'm like, but my BMI is like 25 and a half. And, you know, I had to have my nutritionist be like, no, stop. Like that doesn't mean anything. Like 18% body fat is like awesome for a female. But it's like hard to get yourself out of that mindset when, you know, you're used to going to the doctor and then being like 25.5, like gotta lose some weight. So, I think it's just important to preach that to young girls, especially young girls in combat sports where they're constantly, you know, dealing with the scale. So,
yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Now,
go ahead,
Linz.
I was just going to say, it's like, as soon as you go to the doctor, the first thing, they like barely say hi, and you step on a scale. It's like, hey, what's up? Step on the scale. Do I need to take my shoes off? No.
Yeah.
So it's like,
there's times don't put me on the scale.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's like right from the jump, I mean, you're going to the doctor as an infant. So right from the jump throughout your entire life, whether or not you're involved in combat sports where you're getting weighed regularly, it's a major focus on, here's your weight, here's how much you weigh. It's just a number, but what does that number mean? Like, so it's interesting. Like when I teach in my classes, like right off the bat, when we talk about body composition, I'm like, I hate BMI. Never use BMI moving forward. Like it is worthless for most individuals. Mike, like you said, all three of us are either overweight or obese.
I'm obese. I was being polite. I'm obese. I'm with you.
My BMI is like close to 30. I'm like almost 200 pounds at 6'2", but I'm muscular and fit. You know what I mean? So it is very interesting. But I think kind of moving back to the combat sports conversation, look at what some of these athletes get to later on in life. So when they're so focused on weighing a certain amount or cutting a certain amount of weight, going through kind of peaks and valleys of dieting and then eating whatever they want, going off the deep end. Look at what happens later in life. These people blow up when they don't have to worry about paying attention to their weight anymore. They just let it go. You look at like, old powerlifters or, weightlifters, wrestlers, other combat sport athletes. Their habits just see ya. As soon as they retire, they just blow up. So I think that's the most important, aside from the short-term negative effects, like you were saying, how you like threw up in 6th grade or whatever it was, aside from the short-term scares of dehydration and passing out and things like that, I think the scarier thing is the long-term. So the long-term relationship with food and the disordered eating, that's really the part that's the scariest, because that stays with you forever.
Yeah, and I have something to add with that. I don't know what you know about this, but there was a period of my life where I was eating like 1,500 calories every day, working out twice a day, and not losing. And people were like, there's no way eating, like, there's no way you're only eating 1,500 calories and you're working out 4 hours a day and you're not losing weight. And I'm like, I promise you, like, I'm not losing weight on 1,500 calories. And what I figured out was my body was so deprived that it had just slowed down my metabolism so much so that my resting was probably around 700 calories. And my output, where I should have been burning like 1,500 calories, that was slowed down so much that I was only burning about 700 calories. So then I wasn't in a deficit because my body was just so slowed down. And I did that for so long. And now I'm eating like 2,500 calories a day and I'm maintaining, 2,500 to sometimes even more. And, I'm not gaining weight. But there was a point that, if I went over 1,500 calories a day, I was putting on weight. So just, the damage that it has on young metabolisms, people will say, oh, it doesn't damage your metabolism, like you'll be able to recover or whatever, you can fix your metabolism. Well, it does have a lot of damage on your metabolism, and your metabolism will probably recover eventually, but it takes time. It took me months to get my metabolism back to where it needed to be.
Lindsay, do you want to jump in a little bit and talk about what happens when calories are brought down? Exactly what Skylar's talking about. We speak out against calorie counting and CECO and the need to actually increase calories most often. If you want to lose weight, typically we're going to increase calories out of the gate, which is the opposite of what most of these idiots on YouTube and Instagram fitness talk about, these juiced up freaks who rely on pharmaceuticals in order to facilitate progress. We actually will speak to the science. Lindsay, could you talk about that? And I'm actually, clearly I'm a gallon and a half deep already today. So I'm going to jump into little boys' room for a moment as you kind of take that. Just share what happens though when calories are dropped, what happens to the metabolism, and exactly to Skylar's point, which is very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, exactly what she described is exactly what's going to happen. When you start to deprive your body adapts to everything you do. If you work out, whatever you eat, whatever you drink, it adapts to everything that you do. So it's going to adapt to not getting enough nutrients. So it's kind of exactly what you described. If you start to cut calories so much, your resting or your basal metabolic rate or your resting metabolic rate, which is essentially just like our pilot light, what keeps us alive, is going to slowly decline. So for a lot of people, exactly kind of what Mike had mentioned, a lot of people, the first step to kind of reversing that situation is to reverse diet. So to add more calories. Because you essentially go, I hate to use this term because it's like, it's thrown around a lot, but it's like your body kind of goes into like starvation mode. So it's like preserving yourself. So it's holding on to whatever it can, and essentially wrecking it. And that's the whole diet culture. The entire diet culture is cut calories, cut calories, cut calories. If you gathered up 100 people that are your age and you told them that you ate 2,500 calories a day, they would be like, oh my God, I can't believe that you eat that much. Like it's unfathomable to people to eat more than 2,000 calories, because that's like the norm. But so I think it's kind of changing that mentality of not being afraid to eat more healthy food. And that's what happens when you cut too much. That's why we see that skinny fat kind of epidemic there. So
yeah, and especially like when I was eating 1,500 calories, like I had trouble putting on muscle. I mean, I wouldn't say I was skinny fat, but I was like skinny and not nearly as in good shape as I am when I'm like 155. So yeah, sure, I'm lighter, but I'm not in better shape. I'm not healthier. And, just because I lost that 10 pounds, I wasn't healthier. And in fact, I was, not healthy at all. I was barely fueling my body. Like I should be burning 1,500 calories in my workouts alone, not even taking into consideration like my resting. And I'm only eating 1,500. Like it was just really unhealthy. And, I learned bad habits from people that said, to lose weight, you got to cut your calories, if you're working out and you're intaking less than your output, you're going to lose weight. And it's just like such a terrible mindset to, preach on to young athletes who don't know better.
Right. Yeah. Bodies don't operate as a calculator. That's not how bodies work.
There's a few simple concepts where we simply say, eat more, train more. The more food you eat, the harder you can train, the greater the training effect will be. Conversely, the less you eat, the less you will be able to train. But as you go in both directions, that kind of pattern starts to bridge off, in that the more I eat, the more I can train. And then I can actually train even farther, expending a greater amount of calories than I'm actually consuming. But the less I eat, the less I'm able to train, to the point that I can no longer create a true deficit as a result of training, simply because of lack of fuel and how the body will resist me. I'll get that metabolic resistance, which will start to set in. The amount of calories I burn at rest will slowly be brought back. All the body wants to do is survive and not be fucked with. Right. The body just wants homeostasis. Leave me alone. Like truly, the human body just wants to lay there and not do anything, procreate, and kind of then we're done and move on. Right. That's the way we're primed, if you will. And many of the idiots out there, they want to hack the body, trick the body, force the body, not realizing you will lose that every single time. All we can do is we can facilitate a relationship or a situation for the body to do what it will naturally do. So we can curate the outcome of the body, knowing how the body naturally reacts. And Skylar, you're living that right now. The more you eat, you have high quality nutrition coming in. You can train harder. You feel better. You lay down more healthy functional muscle tissue. You have no longer a need to store any additional energy in the form of body fat. You can perform at higher levels. Your immunity is probably higher. You probably rarely get sick. Your hair probably looks awesome. Your skin looks nice. Like all that stuff that's just biology and physiology. Right? There's nothing new there. You're just now curating the environment for your body to just do what it naturally does. You're not trying to hack it or trick it or any of those other things that, I always point to these, YouTube idiots out there that want to tell these poor kids or, individuals, like our amazing community of, this is the way to trick your body, fool your body into losing weight. No, if you cultivate the right situation, your body will naturally lose weight. It becomes very easy and effortless. And what's interesting is you're able to, I use the term, lay down new muscle tissue as a result of your lifestyle, simply because of the, sport that you're performing in. Wrestling is like lifting weights all day long at a fiber level, right? You're constantly stimulating that type of, antagonist impact of resistance, with wrestling. With the right food, you just become your sport. Right. So you start to become your activity, your outcome. Now, there's a lot of sedentary people out there that eat, baseline calories, and they don't, eat horribly, let's say, but they don't have an appropriate amount of muscle tissue, and they start to accumulate a disproportionate amount of body fat, and that skinny fat syndrome sets in. And that almost goes to what I said earlier about the eat less, train less situation, that you have to have that happy medium. And this is just a little bit more education for, our friends out there listening and watching right now.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And, I think that, as soon as I started eating more and stuff, I definitely felt better. I definitely had better outcomes in my wrestling and stuff. And I literally will never go back to, cutting a lot of weight, because it doesn't help my performance. I don't understand how people are like, oh, well, then you're the biggest in your weight class. Yeah, well, you feel like shit. Like, you'll probably do better up a weight class. You probably really will. And I think it's really just the mindset that, some people put it in their head, like, oh, if I cut weight, I'm gonna be bigger. And I think that mindset has them compete better. But if you have the mindset of, oh, I'm gonna eat healthy, I'm gonna feel good, I'm not gonna cut water, and I'm gonna wrestle really well, then I think you will probably do better in that situation. It's really just the mindset. And people think that, if I cut lots of weight, then I'm going to do better. And they do better by thinking like that. And, I just really think it's awful on your body. And especially when you start on the youth level, just the damage that it's going to have on children's bodies is terrible. And we got to get away from that mindset, and it's education, and it's having discussions like this, having parents listen, having kids listen. It's super important.
Agreed. Skylar, I really appreciate you, what you're doing. Big fan of you and your career. Thank you so much for coming on here, but also for speaking your voice, which is very important. I want to, my little girls, Victoria 6, Arden 4 years old, I want them to have role models like you to look up to, posters of you on their wall. So as they're out there facing all the challenges that little girls will face in this world, they can look up to great mentors like yourself, knowing that there is a way to do it, to stay true to yourself, to achieve their dreams, to work hard. So it's awesome and amazing to know that you're out there doing what you're doing. We're big fans of yours. And I just want to thank you for being here. I know you have a short time, so thanks for sharing with us. Everyone here should be following at Sky Grote on Twitter. You got a great Twitter page at Sky Grote. Also on Instagram, of course. Definitely follow Skylar. Let her know that you're supporting her. Follow her career as you continue on. And if we can be of any service to you in any way, just holler, let us know. We're always in your corner, Sky. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It was an honor. Thank you.
Awesome. And we'll be in touch soon. I'll reach out. Thank you. I got a little care package to send you as a thank you gift. I hope you like coffee, by the way.
I love coffee.
Done deal. We got
coffee with almond milk, though. Come on.
Ooh, come on. I'm a black coffee guy, but coffee with almond milk, that's the way to go. And we'll get you hooked up. So Sky, once again, thank you so much. And give your parents a little hello for us. They raised a great person in you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Of course. All right. And Lindsay, hello, everybody. Now we're back to the Ask the Dietitian edition. I know we got some great questions in here. I want to answer some questions for you guys real quick before Lindsay and I jump off on this Memorial Day weekend. Happy Memorial Day to you guys out there. A huge thank you to our veterans, both past and present. We appreciate the great sacrifice, but also the family of our veterans out there for sharing your loved ones with us. For those who are interested, we are running a 50% discount to all veterans, past and present, and also the family of veterans. A 50% discount at thedolcediet.com. Promo code thank you. This is an honor code discount, meaning if you did not serve honorably, if you were not, the first generation, child of a veteran, then just don't use the code. It's up to your honor. Simply use the Transform promo code, and we'll give everyone else 25% off. Today it is, the least we can do to give back to the amazing men and women who supported us and served to just help preserve our way of life here. So thank you is the 50% discount code at thedolcediet.com. Transform for everyone else and save 25%, which is freaking awesome. Now, Lindsay and I are going to jump in and answer some questions for you. George says, Mike, Lindsay, and Skylar, I can't thank you enough for this free quality content. Bam! You got it. You got it. Of course, George, thank you. I mean, says, does it true the more muscle make your body slow? No, that is false to a level. It's the way you train more than how much muscle mass you have. Look at Juji Mufu. Look at what that guy does, who's a pretty big YouTuber out there. There's also, man, I know guys half Juji size that fucking can barely stand up out of a chair, right? Look at guys like, look at guys like Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall's almost 400 pounds. That dude moves like a lightweight. So it all depends. Lindsay, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, from a biomechanical perspective, if you have more muscle mass, you could be more powerful. So it is definitely all in the way you train. I think that's another thing that we need to get away from is athletes, especially like football and things like that. The coach wants them to bulk up like, oh, if I put on muscle, I'm going to get slow. Well, that's not the case. You probably could get faster, honestly. So it's all in the way you train for sure.
Yep. Agreed. What else? That was a question for Skylar. Apologize. So I can't answer that. Maybe we'll get her back on down the road. David says, you think an intelligent field, in quotes, like healthcare professionals would come up with a better system than dumb BMI index? It is a joke. I agree. It is a joke. And I have a lot of friends who are doctors, by the way, but I will say, how many doctors do you see that you go, damn, doc, you're in great shape?
Not many.
Not many. Why is that? I wonder why that is. So that's something to always be aware of. It's like, walking in. Do you want to sit down with an accountant who has to meet you at a Starbucks because their office building was just foreclosed on and they took a bus to see you because their car was just repoed? I'm not going to hire that accountant. I'm not going to hire the out-of-shape doctor. My doctor is in his early 70s, still runs marathons. He's about 165 pounds, super lean. My doctor in Vegas was in his almost 60 some odd years old, was 220 pounds, freaking yoked. Those are the ones I'm going, and they're hard to find, by the way. They're hard to find. Chris says, because doctors don't know shit about health and fitness. That is true. Doctors are great at emergency care, let's say, right? I think they're excellent. I forget the term. Is it acute care? They're excellent at, like, you walk in with a broken arm, man, they can fix you. You walk in and you're already very sick. Well, they can perform very invasive surgeries. They can prescribe you powerful drugs, and they can help fix you up pretty quick. The preventative stuff, though, doctors not so great at. They're not so great at the preventative stuff, unfortunately. Some of them, and typically I'll say, is always seek out the DOs. Those are osteopaths or doctors of osteopathy, osteopathic care. Pardon if I'm butchering that a little bit, but it's the DO, which is, they have all the same privileges as the MD. They take a more holistic approach by nature. Do you know anything about it, Lindsay?
Yeah, it definitely just is a more holistic approach, but my take, and again, not to bash all doctors out there, but doctors treat the problem. They don't treat the cause of the problem. Yeah. So, you have high blood pressure. Here's your prescription. Why do you have high blood pressure? So that's where people like you and I come in to, we call it medical nutrition therapy. It's fixing medical issues with nutrition and lifestyle things, which that's not what society does. So yeah. Same thing, blood pressure, high cholesterol, here's your pill. So everything is, a Band-Aid is put on something, or you get a surgical procedure to fix something. But again, it's treating the problem, but not the root cause of that problem. So absolutely, we need doctors. I mean, doctors are amazing people, smart, intelligent, but I think when they creep into this field, things don't go well.
I do agree. I do agree. Boris says, question, if I cook my meals in advance, do they lose any nutrition with time? Is there any difference if I eat my meals within the next few days? Lindsay, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I saw this question maybe last week that didn't get answered, but and I was actually thinking about it, but not really. I mean, the initial cooking of the food is usually where any nutrients are lost. So like if you boil vegetables or something like that, that's usually when the nutrients are going to be lost.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit when you microwave something, but it's not anything too specific or too significant, I should say. It's perfectly fine. I mean, I like to prep my meals or order meals that are pre-prepared for convenience and then just heat them up. You're more likely to get better nutritious foods if you're going to prep them, whether or not they lose, a small amount of nutrition than not being prepared and eating something that's junk. So
Agreed.
Yeah, it's nothing significant that you should be concerned with.
Agreed. I think a statistically insignificant amount of nutrients may be lost, and depending upon the timeline, it might be zero. But I would say in time, everything diminishes, possibly in time. Even human life diminishes in time. But that being said, and to Lindsay's point, we typically, like, what I make yesterday, I eat today, and kind of what today, tomorrow. But it doesn't mean what I cooked yesterday, maybe there'll be a little bit leftovers tomorrow too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, so from the point of death, one could say, if you're eating meat, well, maybe there is some sort of reduction in total essence. I wouldn't say nutrient capacity. You could look at this at a lot of different levels, but for like in a lab, we could make some pretty, specific statements, but for our purposes, there is absolutely zero care or concern or worry. If I'm making my meals in a day or two and eating them a day or two later, you are 100% fine with that. Just healthful whole foods. Now, the way you store your food definitely matters, right?
Safety.
I preferred it, right? I'm sorry, Linz?
I was just going to say safety, like make sure,
safety.
Yeah.
Yep. I like glass containers. I like airtight glass containers. They're actually not that expensive and they last forever. Airtight glass containers in a refrigerator, cool, dark place, you're good to go. Like, keep it like that. Don't just kind of put a crappy piece of like plastic, like cellophane on top of it, kind of shadily, like porous, holes open, and just kind of leave it on your counter for half the day. It's like that pizza slice that sat in the pizza shop all day long. I'm not going to eat that one. I'm not going to eat that one. So, but you should be fine. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a quick aside here. Something just popped up. I'm having a little bit of a not a Twitter beef, but a Twitter conversation with Twitter conversation with the king of rock and rumble, as he is known, Mr. Elvis Sinosic. Elvis Sinosic, who I consider to be a friend. I think we were friendly once upon a time, not buddies. We don't hang out. But Elvis posted this. GSP, after only a couple weeks of going carnivore. And I posted false. GSP is not carnivore. His diet is 100% omnivore, eating both animal and plant products. This is the type of conflation that hurts the general public's understanding of healthful nutrition practices. And then Elvis comes back and says, yes, I'm aware that GSP was omnivore, but this photo is a result of him working with Carnivore MD and doing a 30-day carnivore challenge. He stated this himself when he started. I'm sure you're just not following him, so you are unaware of what he's doing. Oh, Elvis.
Come on.
Elvis. So now, what should we type back? Let's do this together. Yeah. Elvis. Elvis. I am following GSP.
You should link our video when we talked about it.
Viewed his plan here. And I will actually, let me pull that up on YouTube right now if I can get it. Of course I can get it. Bam. And where's the GSP? No. God dang it. Let's see.
I think when you initially spoke about this, somebody came back and said, well, you clearly don't know what the carnivore diet is because, it's not fully carnivore and you can eat fruits and vegetables, all that stuff. The thing of it is false advertising. If it's called the carnivore diet, you're picturing a big raw steak that you're just eating with no utensils. So it's false advertising or conflation, as you say.
Both plant and animal products. Again, not a not a carnivore. I would love to see the carnivores post GSP's pick and declare how much better and their omnivore is ideal for health. How's that sound? Elvis, I'm following GSP and actually reviewed his meal plan here. GSP currently continues to eat both plant and animal products. Again, not a carnivore. I would love to see the carnivores post GSP's pick and declare omnivore is more ideal for health. How's that sound? Is that last part a little too prickly, you think, everyone, guys, gals?
I think it's good.
You think it's good?
Yeah. You should put #boom roasted.
I know. I don't want to be a total douche. I'll just be like a borderline douche. Fine. Both just being actually currently just because eat both plant and animal products. Again, not carnivore. I would like to see the carnivores post GSP's pick and declare omnivore is more deal. Okay. Boom. Roasted. Sent that in. Did you guys get to see that? I couldn't see this screen. You saw me typing of it during that period of time?
It's just the old tweet we could see.
Oh, okay. Well, I just posted it. So now let me fuck, did it even go through? Son of a bitch. There we go. It did. And let's it's kind of weird that it's not showing this way. Interesting. All right. Slight little StreamYard glitch, but that's okay. I posted it. Bam, boom, roasted. We'll see what Elvis comes back with. Maybe it'll turn into a little Twitter heat. Feel free to follow us at the Dolce Diet on Twitter if you guys out there want to follow this. But really, this is the thing. George looks great, man. George is super yoked and shredded. He's an omnivore. Omnivore. Boom, done. Roasted.
That's it.
I love it. That's it. It's so funny to see. And Elvis is this, I'm a carnivore. And he's like, hey, look at GSP, looks great. Well, he's a fucking omnivore, dude. Awesome. Like, not mad at you. Or are you going to say, well, damn, omnivore might actually be a better way forward? Probably not going to say that.
Nope.
All right. David Power says, what are your thoughts on barefoot running shoes? I enjoy doing my miles on grass barefoot. As long as your feet are like, I don't do that, but I'm not as practiced. I from all those barefoot runners that I know, they say, dude, it takes like a year to get their feet up and running. Boom, boom, pardon the pun. It takes a year to really train their feet to be able to deal with that, right? You know, because our feet have been protected our entire life. I would not just jump into barefoot. We here living on the Jersey Shore, we call it summer feet. We got to get our summer feet ready, right? Which means you start walking around barefoot, right? And in time, you can walk across the street barefoot. Like the blacktop doesn't bother you anymore. Walking on sidewalks, no big deal. But man, I got to tell you, in mid-late spring, when you start kicking your shoes off, your feet hurt. Yeah, right. That shit.
First day at the beach, your feet are like literally sore.
Yeah. And the hot sand, like your feet are like they'll get swollen. Yeah. Right. The pads of your feet get swollen and it hurts. And it takes a few weeks. And that's just walking. not all that force compression of running barefoot. So David, man, I'm super interested. I know some people who are like fucking hardcore barefoot runners and whatnot. Was it Scott Jurek? Is he one of them?
I think so.
Okay. So, read his book. There's a few out there. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm going to wear like a Vibram sole. I do have some of those Vibram flat soles, not the silly, I call them the snaggle toes. I know they're like, what,
That was a big movement.
That was a big movement.
Yep.
CrossFit.
It was CrossFit and it was paleo. CrossFit, paleo, toe shoes. It was like a uniform.
And it's so fucking stupid. Now, how many actually wear it anymore? If it worked as good as they said it did back then, wouldn't everyone be wearing them now?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Exactly.
No. But, those were so stupid.
There are a couple things that like are beneficial to do barefoot, like certain yoga and just like proprioception type things, certain lifts. But as far as running, I mean, regardless of any benefit, whatever benefit exists, I think me personally, it would do more damage than good. Talk about plantar fasciitis for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a game changer. I had the beginning of that a few years back when I was in my little running phase. Thank God I switched out I actually went and got a gait analysis. I think it was, I went to a True Running store and I got put on the treadmill and they videotaped my feet. And they tried on 40 different pair of shoes, to find the ones that actually worked. It was freaking incredible. Right. So it really took them and gone immediately. It was immediately gone. I was wearing like $150 pair of Nikes, like Nike Freeze or Nike something, like $150 pair of shoes. You're like, hey man, I should be pretty good. I wound up getting like a $60 or $80 pair of everyone calls them my old man shoes because I look like I'm a 76-year-old living in Boca wearing these shoes. They are the most comfortable freaking shoes I ever had my entire life. They were the ones that were perfect for my feet.
Mm-hmm. It's like the white and navy New Balances.
Well, they were white and navy, by the way. They actually were. They were. No, they should be. I wish they were actually. But they did like the runner's knot, right? Mm-hmm. So to tie that runner's knot, they actually put the loops on the outside of the shoe so it doesn't pull the tension across the middle of the foot, which is super interesting, by the way. So the runner's knot is like, man, they just feel great. Now I don't run anymore, not like that. I do most of my work on the sand. So I just like slide my feet in and out. They become just like my dad's shoes. They are dad's shoes now, right? Almost shoes. Exactly. Exactly. Let's see. MMA allegedly says, I was inducted into the finger shoe douche hood 6 years ago. Finally broke free 2 years ago. It was a close call. Welcome back.
Slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. And I wonder, MMA allegedly, were you in that CrossFit kind of paleo community? You're going 6 years back, so that's pretty dang close. Was that the cult that pulled you in? I'd love to hear about it. All fads. I run a bit of barefoot on the beach in Miami on vacation. Minimal shoes are best. Yeah, I do the beach stuff. Barefoot on the beach is freaking awesome, right? That's probably better than a sneaker, by the way. But man, my feet got beat the fuck, pardon my language, in the beginning. Super sore. But that was just from my untrained muscles, like really having to react. I was hurting for a while. Minimal shoes, but also I have some of those like kind of like Vibram sole, but they're the open cup, right? They call them, I think the toe box, right? So the toe box is normal, completely normal, not the stupid, the snaggle toes, which just looks freaking silly and actually hurts because I tried them on one time. What is this about? I tried them on. Ugh. Fucking horrible. Any word on the Dolce whey dropping? Yes. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Instagram, I have a guest coming on, and there will be a major announcement tomorrow at 10 a.m. on Instagram. Major announcement.
Heard it here first.
Major announcement. Heard it here first. It's all I can say. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., be on the Instagram page for the IG Live, and there will be a major announcement. The Dolce Whey Pro. might be a part of the announcement. I don't know if I'm saying, might be saying too much. Joe from Primal Example. So was 100% paleo. Of course, Mark Sisson movement that had me brainwashed. Mark Sisson has been responsible for a lot of the bullshit in fitness. Mark Sisson was responsible, looks like, for the stupid primal, not primal. He was the primal movement dude, right? And then he became the keto dude, right? He's kind of why Rogan went all fucking keto a few years back. And now he's pushing intermittent fasting, 2 meals a day. Dude, what is it, Mark? I would love to actually see Mark's blood work, by the way. I would love to. Is it 2 meals a day? Is it keto, or is it blood work related? I would love to see. I don't know. I would love to see it, man. Maybe he's onto something here. 2 meals a day. I wonder how well that works. Right?
Crazy. It would be more interesting to see his blood work over the years throughout all the fads.
Very true. Very true. Very true. And then he sold his company to Kraft after saying he never would. Of course. Come on now. And that's the Primal Kitchen stuff, right? So of course, it's what they all freaking do, man. They all just fucking sell their souls to make that extra little jingle when they already have enough money that they don't have to. So it becomes a greed thing. That's the problem. Mark has been doing well for a very long period of time. And I'm sure the amount of cash that he has now is not a life changer, right? So what is it? It's ego glorification more than anything else. It sucks. Chris says here in New York City, the whole primal keto CrossFit thing is pretty much dead. Yeah, it's pretty much dead everywhere. Now the keto heads are all pushing deep into intermittent fasting. They're trying to get that little bit of squeeze out whatever juice is left of the keto thing, and they will all start swinging back to add more carbohydrates. I think Peter Attia has started doing that. The Carnivore MD and GSP, well, they're eating carbohydrates now. They're no longer carnivore anymore. They're all eating carbohydrates again. It's so funny to see the hypocrisy in it all, man. Dance with the girl you came with. If that's your thing, dude, let that be your thing. But now you're going to keep jumping and jumping and jumping, to everything that's different every 18 to 36 months. You lose all credibility. I think maybe next week or so, I'm going to get back on a podcast with Andy Galpin and Joe DeFranco, and I want to call out all the bullshit. I don't know if they will call out the bullshit with me, and that'll be the thing. So I hope they will. Nobody wants to call out the fuckers out there. Did you hear me go hard on I didn't even go hard on Lane Norton. I just spoke the truth. Did you hear that, Lindsay?
Yeah. Lane.
Bio fucking dork out there. What a fucking loser Lane is. But I just, what a loser. What a horrible human being that dude is. Oh my God. What a fucking cringe that guy is. By the way, what a cringy fucking dude that guy is. Could you imagine if he lived in the apartment next to yours, the bullshit you would have to deal with being that close to a douchebag like that? Oh my God.
Sometimes I just read his tweets for entertainment.
Yeah.
I just go on, and then through the comments, it's just fun. It's just funny.
What a hateful, insecure little man he is, right? It's so obvious, and he's so clueless. He doesn't even fucking see he's so, well, he's not meta. He is a meme of himself. He is exactly what he pretends to dislike. He is that person, right? He's Lane Norton once said, eating real food is unsustainable. Oddly, he was selling a now failed sports supplement line called Carbon that was all fucking synthetic toxic chemicals. All synthetic toxic chemicals, while telling people, well, eating real food is unsustainable. You need to eat this processed food. What a fucking douche. What a douche. Tell that to our ancestors, douche. I got so much great Lane stuff. I have a whole fucking file of Lane stuff. Every bad thing Lane has ever said about Joe Rogan. Screenshot. Oh man, it's still on there. I got a whiz kid that hates Lane, by the way, because Lane treated him poorly years ago, before I ever met him, by the way. Lane treated him poorly by asking a question when he was just coming up and didn't know, what was what in the fitness world, as he was still an undergrad. Ask a question. Lane treated him like shit, and he was like, oh, fuck this guy, and forever has hated the guy. He reached out to me because I clearly think Lane is a douche, because Lane is a douche. It's not a, I get my opinion, allegedly, right? Lane is, I mean, I'm sure he's actually a human being, but in my world, he's just a douche hanging off like the little coat rack on grandma's bathroom door. That's the way I picture Lane, by the way. But Lane used to fucking go hard on Rogan too. Used to talk shit about Rogan because Rogan wouldn't have Lane on the show for years and years. I'm on and Rob is on and just, I think Andy's on, just these other like nutrition dudes are on. Lane couldn't get on for whatever reason. And you just used to talk shit about Joe on Twitter. Like that stuff's all out there. I think he's tried to scrub some of them. Man, he's talked so much shit about so many freaking people. I got the whole file. So I'm just waiting for the time for Lane to like really like try and talk shit about me again, or like go hard and make it an issue or deny it. As soon as that motherfucker denies it, boom, Reddit army.
Exposed.
Bam. Exposed. And then I'll just throw everything else out there. I got so much great stuff on that fucking idiot.
Beautiful.
All from his own fucking mouth. What's that?
I said beautiful.
Beautiful. Anyway, I spent too much time on that dork.
One of the listeners should do a douche count on this video. How many times did you say it? It's got to be like 37.
And it's funny because anytime his name comes up, it's douche. That is my association. And there's other, idiots out there. I usually call them thumb dicks, though I have a sneaking suspicion that Lane also has he's probably a little challenged. This is just my working hypothesis here. He's got a little physical challenge, right? Lil Lane isn't, too impressive, which is why he acts the way he does. He's so quick to be insulted. His delicate sensibilities are so hurt so fast while being the biggest fucking douche on the internet, by the way. But I think it's probably it's probably related to some sort of physical failing that he's had to work so hard to try and overcome through all these years, which that makes sense. It makes sense.
Most people in the douche category are compensating for something.
They are. Yeah. Man, his issue must be a lot worse than even I once thought, because he's overcompensating in so many freaking areas. It's crazy. MMA Joe says half these guys are carnivore but use a greens superfood powder. I know, they're all so full of shit, right? I wonder what Elvis, let's say, did Elvis even respond yet? No, he didn't respond yet. Probably not going to. Nope, didn't respond yet.
Come on, Elvis.
He didn't respond. I don't think I like Elvis, actually. I like Elvis. I think he said a couple like little mean things about me. Actually, that I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't think carnivore is the way forward. Like that says more about you than it does about me by saying, hey, live a healthy omnivorous life. Is omnivoric, is that a correct usage of the word?
Omnivoric. Omnivorous?
Omnivorous is more popular, but I believe omnivoric is still correct.
Okay. You should ask that guy that defined each term. He would know.
That was a thumb dick, right? That was a thumb to Dolce, being a carnivore doesn't mean you're a carnivore, because a carnivore means you could eat animal products, but we don't eat animal products because we're carnivores. But you're wrong. I was like, I had to read it like 3 times. I was like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about, man? But
yeah,
like,
I think it's omnivorous.
Omnivorous. But can we say omnivoric? I'm going to say it anyway.
I don't know. That's the word.
I'm going to own that. We just made it a word.
That's right.
We just made it a word. I forget there because. Anyway, I'll go back. I'll come back to this, by the way. We're going to do a whole show on this. David Power says currently train at Training for Warriors, owned by Martin Rooney. Awesome group of people. Awesome. I'm friends with Martin. I've known Martin for almost 20 years now, which is insane. I've known Martin since the early 2000s, back when he was working with Ricardo Almeida in the old Renzo Gracie New York Academy, which is long time. My legs, my legs go deep? I'm full of wrong words today and terminologies, but we can bend them because you know what? My legs go deep, right? Perfect. It works. You see it. No, he says, Dolce. I like the Steve Harvey. I have failed you. Fell off the wagon, ate shit literally and figuratively. Yikes. You literally ate shit like fecal matter. You were ingesting in fecal matter. I hope this has to do with a tequila riddled night with the missus or mister, depending. I hope this has something to do with a little extracurricular activity. Now, you didn't just sit down to a pile of poop with a spoon. That would make less sense for sure. Omnivoric.
Coin.
Fair enough. Now we're Scandinavian here. Do you suggest taking creatine while on 3 weeks of shredded only if you don't care about what you weigh? You care about the way you look and perform. Yeah, creatine is great. Creatine, I'm going to get Tony Ricci and Dr. Corey Peacock on to really drill down deep into creatine. The more I think about creatine, the more I think creatine is a long-term health supplement. No longer am I categorizing it strictly as a sports supplement, just due to the cognitive benefits, long-term cognitive benefits. A lot of, I'm sure you're probably familiar with some of the data that's out there.
Yeah.
So
Tony Ricci's like the godfather of creatine.
He is.
A lot of good information that I've personally listened to. It's good stuff, especially with the newer like cognitive side of things. It's really cool. Yeah,
I know he and Corey have been spending a lot of time. So we all spoke at a seminar 2 or 3 years ago at Siege Academy up in Long Island, and Corey did a piece on creatine. Eye-opening to me because I'd known some of the cognitive benefits, not the studies on dementia and Alzheimer's, and just really improving cognitive health, but offsetting cognitive decline. I think that's very interesting, right? Because that's something that we all should be concerned about as we look. Yeah. Cognitive decline is huge, is becoming one of the bigger concerns now in modern society. We're seeing a lot, and maybe it's because we're living longer than we previously had. That's also another concern. Let's say we can add another 10, 15 years to our life. Well, what fucking good is it if we don't even know we're here? Exactly. Right? What good is that? That sucks. All right, I think we're going to shut this down. Lindsay, thank you for being here. This is great. We're already an hour and a half deep. Thank you to Skylar for coming on. That was awesome. Very informative. Yeah. Great stuff. Always a pleasure having you. You have any plans here for this Memorial Day? Not just weekend, but it is Memorial Day. Anything you're doing today? Well, I'm going to definitely get outside today because it's the first time I've seen sun in 3 or 4 days. It was like 45 degrees yesterday. Horrible. And raining. Yeah. Insane. So definitely going to get outside, enjoy some sunshine here. So how about you? We are going to the smoothie farm, as my kids call it. This beautiful organic farm, about 20 minutes from here. It's near the Banya. I go almost every day now, bring my kids out. But they have an organic little shop, cafe. They have smoothies and coffees, but they have these massive greenhouses where they grow all these hydroponic greens. Any green you can think of, they grow, and that they put them still live, still with the root system built in. So you buy it and it's literally still alive. So I've just been stocking up on there, but I take the kids out. They got like all these like beautiful rocking chairs. So you're just like sitting on we're like living on their farm, hang out on their farm. Awesome. We're going to go hang out there, get the smoothies. But then on the drive up, I actually scouted out, as when you're a dad, these are the things you do. You scout out all the playgrounds in your area. Yes. Scouted out this awesome playground. So we're going to go to the smoothie farm, hang out, going to get loaded up on some really good organic produce, get some awesome smoothies, a little bit of cold brew, and then just take the kids to the park, and hopefully they get exhausted.
Perfect.
And that's kind of the first half of my day. It should be done about 3 or 4 o'clock. Maybe we'll do the little bit of traditional barbecue out back. Maybe we will go out to eat. Probably going to go out because me personally, I do not like grilling. I don't eat. Ask me why.
Why?
Cleaning up.
I like grilling.
Do you have to clean the grill though when you're done?
Yeah, just a little.
No. And you do the scrapey. You scrape, and then what you scrape, that has to get cleaned up eventually too.
Yeah.
Falls. That's what I hate.
You're right.
So for me, I try and avoid it because I don't want to clean it.
That's fair. Fair enough.
That's it. I would rather go somewhere. I can get some good burgers around here that are clean. It's a great little like paleo-centric place in town. Awesome. My wife is always like, "We never grill." I'm like, "Bitch, you never grill." I don't. In my mind, I say that. in reality, I go, "Yeah, well, maybe next time. Maybe
We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll see. I do need a new grill, though, so I might get like a new Traeger or something. Brian Stan keeps pushing me to get a green egg. I don't know. Maybe you guys, if you're watching this after the video, definitely leave a comment below. What type of grill would you suggest I get? Because I just got the old school, the charcoal. I don't use the charcoal. I use like the stupid wood, perfect, like because Mike Dolce can't use traditional charcoal, right? Because then I'm a hypocrite, which I actually truly do live this, which is another pain in the ass. So I get like I forget the name of it. Super expensive, by the way. These like cedar pieces of wood. There's no chemical added to it. Like it's totally a pain. And this is another reason why I don't like to grill. So expensive. It's like I could go to like a 5-star fucking blue ribbon restaurant cheaper than me grilling Costco patties in my backyard because of the way I have to light. And it takes forever to light this stuff too, because I can't use the lighter fluid because all the chemicals, right? So again, I am being true. To be fair to anyone who ever comes over, you walk into my shed and you're like, all this foo-foo bullshit out there. I'm giving way too much insight into my life right now. I think these are
about grilling.
I'm venting because I'm going to go home. Brandon's going to be like, "Are you?" And we have all this amazing certified Piedmontese grass-fed, grass-finished beef literally right now in my house, ready to go. This episode is brought to you by Certified Piedmontese. Go to Piedmontese.com and feed your family the same way I feed mine. Right now, use promo code Dolce to save 25% on grass-fed, grass-finished beef with free delivery. That's Piedmontese.com.
How to get that in there?
That was so organic, though. I didn't even try that. And as I was saying it, I was like, oh. And I heard the music. Like I heard the music in my mind as I was talking. I was like, oh, let me press the button. But anyone who is interested, click the link below. That Certified Piedmontese is freaking awesome. That truly is the only beef that we use in our home. It is phenomenal. I am amazing on the skillet, though. Like Kevin James, you guys know Kevin James. He's like, listen, bro, if this whole Dolce diet thing just, fails one day, you can work in any diner in New Jersey, no problem.
There you go.
My pancakes are incredible. My egg game on a skillet, I can fucking make magic. And my burger game, give me fire and steel. Done.
Game over.
Game over. When you're in Jersey, Lindsay, I will show you the way so you can come back and be like, this whole stupid Dolce diet thing you're doing, bro. Quit. Go to like the Princess Maria Diner here. Tell the Kostanakis, the Greek owner, of course, right? Who's of course, it's either the Greeks or typical, right? And I love them. They're awesome, by the way. Their meals are great. Their cheese omelet is on point. And I could slide in right there. I could be like and probably like the overnight. the overnight grill man.
Yes. Always have a backup plan.
That's true. All right. I'm fucking getting punchy right now.
I
all
will
right.
ask though, speaking of CrossFit,
Yes.
is anybody
go ahead.
doing the Murph workout today?
Yeah, Russell Harding just said that, by the way.
I'm going to do it, and I feel sick to my stomach thinking about it, but I'm going to do it.
What I've never actually done the Murph because I don't do CrossFit. So I don't know what it is. Like, give me the Murph. What is the breakdown of the Murph? Do you know it?
So you've got a mile run. You're supposed to wear a weight vest. I can't remember a 50-pound weight vest, I think.
Does a big dinner last night count?
Yeah. Built in.
Okay. All right.
So mile run. And then the middle portion, I believe in this order, I think it's 300 squats, 200 push-ups, and 100 pull-ups. And you could break it up however you want, like 10 sets of 30, 20, 10, however you want to break it up. And then when you're finished that, you run another mile.
So
Sounds
1 mile
fun.
run, 300 squats, 200 push-ups, 100 chin-ups, and a 1 mile run.
Yep.
All wearing a 20-pound weight vest. I
think the true Murph is a 50-pound weight vest. I could be wrong.
Ooh, okay.
Which is,
I was like,
I've never done it with the vest, but
I could see those people probably can't do the chin-ups with a 50-pound. With 100 chin-ups with a 50-pound weight vest, I don't see most athletes
people
getting that done. Yeah,
most people modify that. Like, I'll do like TRX rows, like an inverted row instead of chin-ups, but or like a banded row and like double the reps or something like that. But yeah, most people modify. And then you've got the CrossFit people probably kipping their way.
I hate that.
Ugh.
We got to do a whole show on kipping, and I'll just have a whole highlight reel. Whole highlight reel of fail. Like it'll be a low light reel. Infinite Edge Intensity has done an amazing job. Is he even still in the game? I wonder. Infinite Edge Intensity. Is his channel even still up? He is still up, but he's all right. He's still up and he's still doing his thing. Wow. Let me can we just do this real quick? I don't want to hijack. I just came across something that you don't want to see. It was part of the whole body positivity thing. All right, let me just stop screen. Let me throw this in real quick. Share, bam. Those who hung out, you guys are awesome. By the way, guys and gals, give us a thumbs up for these videos, please. I'm not really often asking, but I'm going to ask. Give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. Comment. Be a part of the channel. Oh, man, I just messed it up again. Of course I did. Share screen. Bam! There we go. Infinite Edge Intensity. This is his YouTube channel. This video has 1.1 million views. CrossFit Fails. Matt Frazier, who claims Natty, I believe, right? Was claiming Natty on the Joe Rogan show.
Oh, yeah. For an hour straight.
An hour straight. Did Joe call him on it? Was Joe like, bro, come on? Or was Joe less like pretending it was real?
Not at all. I mean, it was a good podcast, but that part, I mean, they went in on people that use. I'm like, there's no way. But oh boy.
Let's see here.
I gotta watch this in its entirety. Ugh. What?
Oh,
yikes.
Wow, she's Natty? Is that the assumption? That's the supposition here?
With a freaking turtle shell on her stomach. There's no way. This looks like fun, let me tell you.
I know.
Oh, mullet.
Of course. Rocking the mullet.
I don't see any toe shoes though.
True. All right, CrossFit moving forward.
Oh.
This is
This is
I don't
amazing.
understand this stuff.
I wonder how heavy the bag is.
Yeah. 50 pounds? Nah, I don't know. Oh man.
Here with the ads. Come on.
Come on. This is my other channel. This is not the my premium channel. All right, let's see this. Here we go. Oh boy. What?
Strange video.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised there's still 26 people watching this with us.
I know. I appreciate you guys.
Oh my
just like
gosh.
us. What?
Oh my gosh.
Can you hear him talking also?
No.
Okay. All right, I'll stop this.
Whew.
Anyway, and our views are actually going up, 33 people. All right, guys, we appreciate you all for being here. I just ask you, give these videos a thumbs up. Thank you so much for being a part of it. We're trying to get back into the algorithms, trying to push out all the nonsense out there. Professor Lindsay Howard, thank you so much for classing up the place. Again, big thank you to Fargo champion, national freestyle champion, state champion, female wrestler Skylar Grote for her comments on weight cutting and improving weight cutting for youth athletes specifically, but female athletes towards the end of the conversation, which I really, really appreciated. That girl is so natty. I know, so natty. Right. Appreciate all you guys for being here. We got, I'm going to chop this video up into a few shorter clips to definitely check out throughout the day. We got a lot of more short clips coming for you guys. And that's it. So we appreciate you. And until next time, boom.